welcome to day 2 of Vlogmas. I thought it would be sometime before the pajamas came out, but it is Saturday, December 3rd, and it is currently 6:30 in the morning, and I thought about showering and getting dressed and being a person, and I was just like, it's 6:30 on a Saturday, I'm going to spin and probably go back to bed. So you're getting the freshest version of Tashi you'll probably ever get. I'm lying. I'm probably going to look like this multiple times throughout the month. I hope you are super comfy cozy, like I am, in the fluffiest bathrobe to ever did fluff, and I literally have on pajamas, which you will see when we start spinning because you're going to see so much of my leg. Y'all, it's Saturday. It's day 2. I think, first off, I'll show you. I finished my day 1 spin, so I'll show you what that looks like on the bobbin. So, here it is. It came out really, really pretty. I'm really happy with it. I was having some issues with my wheel. So I called. I love that like real wheel manufacturers leave like phone numbers on their website. So I went on the Spinolution website and I went looking for like a contact me like for help situation. And there was a phone number. So I called the phone number and like the owner of Spinolution answered it. And I was just like, hey, I'm having this issue. I hope it's okay that I've called. And he's like, that's what this number is for. And he like sorted me out in like 5 minutes. So hopefully my wheel behaves a little bit better today. Because I was watching the footage and I was like, ooh, that sounds like an angry wheel. And then I was spinning on it yesterday and I was just like, oh, it is angry. And Joshua and I like stared at it for like an hour. Like, we are wheel engineers. We know nothing about spinning wheels. Why did we think we could fix it? We thought we could fix it. And we couldn't. So we called the people who do know what's going on, and my wheel's fixed, which is great. I'm also going to, I probably would have done it already, insert some like b-roll of my day on Friday. We'll see if I remember to do this every day, but I thought I would just like take a little bit of footage of like me about town, whatever that looks like. And I really want to get like some lights to put behind me. I think that'd be really festive. I might just put some like lights on my yarn shelf. Yeah, so let's open day 2, which I'm really excited about. So for a reminder, you know what? I'll just like make a Vlogmas playlist and I'll link it somewhere over here. But for day 1, we were spinning pineapple, Polworth, and silk, which was really interesting. I think the pineapple fiber reminds me of like a thinner, gentler flax. So if you've ever spun flax, I think that's what the pineapple reminds me of, which makes sense. It's a plant fiber. So like, and then the silk was nice in it. Let's see what this is. It's present time. Okay. I want it now. Oh my heart. Shut the front door. All right. So this is, it's BFL. I like to call BFL my BFF. Y'all, this is so pretty. You know what? I don't know what I was expecting from this advent. I was like, is it going to be darker colors because it's like winter time? And Jen was like, nope. Here you go. Jen was like, nope, brights and brights and brights for you, which I'm not mad about. All right, so we're going to, first off, we're going to savage this. We're going to rip it in half. So again, a reminder, this is my, the 2 bobbin of my 124 fractal. So that's what we're doing. And I just rolled it up and popped it on my wheel. I think I'm actually going to pre-draft this a little bit. I find, at least with like the longer staples of BFL, that I like to like open up my fibers and give them a little bit of love before I start spinning them. So I'm going to quickly do that. Okay, so what I'm pretty much have done is I've gone down the length of the fiber and teased it open widthwise. And then I'm just going to give it a gentle tug down, real gentle, because I don't want it to split apart. Like, I do want it to stay in one continuous piece because that'll be easier for me to hold on to. But I'm just kind of adding some life back into this. If you're spinning comb top and you're having trouble drafting, I start always with widthwise and open the fibers back up because, you know, they get a little bit compacted in dyeing. They get a little bit compacted in transport. They were rolled up in these like super cute packages for however long Jen had them before she sent them to us. And so they just need a little bit of TLC. And then I pre-draft a little bit. I just go down the braid and open those fibers back up. It's going to draft so much better that way. And then I wrap them back up just like this. And so you see, it looks like a lot more fiber. It's just the same amount, but like, look at how open, there we go. Look at how open and floofy that is. Like, that's just gonna be so much nicer to spin. So what are we talking about today? Today, we are talking about YouTube University. So that is a question that I've gotten a fair amount of times, and I'm just going to attach this to my leftovers and then I'll switch the camera. But that's a question I've gotten a fair amount of times, is like, how did you learn to spin online? And listen, I know that everyone's not an online learner, and there is definitely something to be said for in-person instruction, but like, that's not affordable. I mean, I guess affordable is the word, but it's also not available to everyone. Like, not everyone lives in a place where there are dedicated spinning instructors who can, like, you know, hang out with you and teach you how to spin. And there's lots of resources for learning to spin online. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about my favorite places to go for YouTube University that helped me learn how to spin online. We'll talk about paid content, as well as, like, you know, content that's available for free, so that you can find something that fits your wheelhouse. So I've already started spinning. I love spinning BFL. It's like my favorite thing. So I'm gonna stop spinning the BFL. We're gonna fix the camera so you can see the wheel, and we'll chit chat. Okay, guys, we have reached the Goldilocks effect of tension. Sometimes I just need to spin for like a minute to make sure that I'm happy with where my settings are. And this fiber is drafting out beautifully because I've done a bit of pre-drafting and a little bit of work. So we're gonna chit chat about resources for learning. Again, I'm very lucky in that I was able to learn online. I know that that's not a thing for everybody. I know some people benefit more from in-person instruction, but if you have maybe gotten a little bit of in-person instruction and you are looking for places to refine your spinning, or you want to just give learning online a go, that's what we're going to be chit-chatting about today. So let's say you are a novice, like you have your first drop spindle, or you're like me and you were a rebel and you did all the things you were not supposed to and you bought a wheel. I mean, listen, do your thing, boo. I support you. I support this endeavor. This is a judge-free zone. But let's say, you know, you bought a wheel, zero experience with a drop spindle or anything. Where do you go? So I love Evie at Jillian Eve. I think her content is, well, first of all, I think Evie has a really interesting perspective because I think she's interested. I mean, I'm not going to speak for Evie. I'm not her like spokesperson. Maybe she'll hire me, but I'm not going to speak for Evie. But I think her focus is a lot on the historical nature of the craft. Like, she does a lot of like recreations of like Viking style pieces, and I find it fascinating. It's really good just like sitting in bed and knit along or spin along content. But she also does really, really good teaching content, and a lot of her videos have the for beginners, you know, label, which one I love when people label things appropriately, like this for beginners or this for beginners, because when you use the algorithm or when you use the search feature, it makes it really easy to find what you're looking for. So when I decided to like do this, I probably should have done this on someone else's YouTube account because my YouTube account just like reinforces all of my preconceived notions. But I searched how to spin wool for beginners, and the first thing that came up was like 4 videos from Evie. So if it doesn't tell you how much I watch her and I appreciate her channel, and you guys, I will obviously have everything linked in the description box, but she has a bunch of videos on spindling, on setting twists, like literally everything from start to finish if you're learning to spin yarn. And listen, I'm going to tell you, lesson 1, before you even like, you know, actually start learning how to spin, lesson 1 is be gentle with yourself. This is not, I mean, is it hard? I was going to say, this is a hard thing. It is a hard thing. And then I was going to say, is it that hard? It's a hard thing to learn because it's all new motions, and you have to figure out, like, if you're, you know, treadling, you got to figure out hand-feet coordination. That slub is going to make me like need a drink. You're going to need hand-feet coordination, and it's not like, no one was born knowing how to spin. So lesson 1 is be gentle with yourself. This is a craft that's supposed to bring you joy, even if it frustrates you. Like, listen, I can only speak for myself. I get frustrated all the time, especially when I'm trying to learn something new and the fiber isn't cooperating, my hands aren't cooperating, what I wanted to happen isn't happening. Like, It happens, you guys. Be gentle with yourself, and then you find good resources. So I highly recommend Evie at Jillian Eve. Also, I think her laugh is infectious, and every time she laughs, I just want to laugh along. So yeah, she's super fun to watch. I will link her in the description box. Who else? Oh, and then after Jillian, my other favorite resource for beginners is Rachel at Woolen Spinning. If you follow me on Instagram, oh, hello. You can find me on Instagram at tangledstarlight, and you can find me on Ravelry at tangledstarlight. One of these days, we're going to get it together, and I will remember to put it in the beginning of the video. But I feel like if you made it this far, if you came back after day one, and if you've made it this far, you probably already know me and know who I am. But if you've just stumbled upon this video and you have no idea who I am, my name is Tashi. You can call me that because we're friends now. That's what all my friends call me. And find me on Instagram and come follow along while I do all of the woolly shenanigans. Back to what I was saying. If you follow me on Instagram, you will already know about my love affair with Rachel at Woolen Spinning. This is getting a little too thin, so I'm just going to slow down and add a little bit more fiber to my next drafts. There we go. Back to work. I love Rachel. So I'm on a mission to become a better technical spinner, and I know that's not everyone's journey, but I love the data analysis and I don't know. I like being able to recreate yarn over and over. I like the experimentation. The chaos goblin in the back of my head is perpetually dueling with the other part of me that loves data analysis and loves all that junk. And so I'm really on a mission to become a better technical spinner. And Rachel is a great, even if you're not interested in becoming a better technical spinner, Rachel's just a great resource across the board. Her old stuff's great. Her mid stuff is great. Her new stuff is great. She has a podcast that airs every other Tuesday. I think it's every other Tuesday. And the podcast, it's a podcast, so it's showing what she's working on, but there's also so much learning to do. Like, even just watching her, she spins during the podcast. So you get to watch her talk about her process, about how she, sets up her wheel and the choices she makes. And then on top, this orange is super pretty. Oh my Lord. I love this braid so much. The other day I was just saying that I really like analogous colors, but something about like a sunsetty orange. I don't like hot pink. I will say that. Hot take. Who is surprised? Hot take. I don't like hot pink. But if you put hot pink with like a sunsetty orange and like a really bright pop of blue, I am, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. This color story is fast. I digress. Rachel's amazing. Has great teaching content. I discovered Rachel when she was doing a breed study. So she was doing a different, every podcast video was on a different sheep breed. And that's when I was really like, I want to learn how to spin other sheep breeds besides, Merino and Rambouillet and all the things that are commercially available. This is before I was ready to process my own fleeces, but I just wanted to learn what are the characteristics of other sheep breeds. And I had just gotten the Fleece and Fiber source book, and I was looking online for content on various sheep breeds, and that's how I discovered Rachel. And then I just haven't looked back. She has great videos on just doing joins, just doing a short forward, just doing just the general drafts. If you search Rachel Smith long draw, Rachel Smith continuous backwards, whatever, you can find pretty much anything out there. And the way she explains things just makes sense to me. Now, listen, half the battle of learning is learning to understand. If you don't understand the way someone is explaining something to you, then they could explain it to you till the cows come home, but you don't get it. Which is part of the reason why I'm always when somebody asks me a question online, I'm like, oh God, get ready. I have no idea if you're going to understand anything I'm saying to you. I'm happy to try to answer your question, but my brain... Okay, we're back. My bobbin looks a little different because, I am a noob and I did not charge my camera battery last night, and then I don't have a backup battery because also a noob. So I had to like stop filming for 45 minutes so I could charge my camera battery. So my bobbin looks a little different. I actually finished the first, I just sat here and watched a YouTube podcast while I killed time and waited for my battery to charge. And now I'm like all discombobulated. So I literally just kept spinning. So I finished the first half of this braid. That blue is like everything. Okay. So let's see if I remember what I was saying. I probably should have watched this. Oh, what I was saying is it's hard to learn. There we go. That's what I was saying. All right, let me get situated, get back in frame because I moved the camera. I had to take the camera off. We'll fix this. I'll be right back. So what I was saying was if you don't learn in the language that like the person is explaining it to you, like, listen, sometimes I have to have multiple people explain the same thing to me before it starts to click because everyone explains things differently. And sometimes people are like, hey, how did you do this thing on when they like catch me on Instagram? And I'm like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. Let's see if I can be articulate and actually make words with my mouth and not just grunt incoherently. So I really enjoy learning from Rachel. Is where we were going. Okay, my tension is weird again. I really enjoy learning from Rachel. The way she explains things is a way I understand. I think she's very clear and coherent. And she's also just a really good spinner. And I think, I don't know if Rachel was teaching spinning before or how long. She's been doing it forever, I feel like at this point. Anyways, go follow Rachel at Woolen Spinning. So that's if you want to learn. Oh, and one more person, if you want to learn like a good basic worsted draft. I really like Tiny Fiber Studio, especially when she was doing her 51 yarn spin. I found the 51 yarn spin fascinating. I don't know if that's a project that I would do. Maybe it should be a project I do. I don't like challenging myself. I don't know if you know that about me, but I'm very set in my ways. I'm a very steady kind of girl. So I don't like challenging myself, and the 51 yarn spin like kind of terrifies me because it's just making you do all these things that like are not the things that I normally do, which is probably would make me a better spinner. So I guess I'll do it at some point, but not in this lifetime. Maybe the next one. But anyways, Tiny Fiber Studio did her 51 yarns videos, and they're fascinating. And she's also an excellent teacher, really explains things in a way that I understand, and does really cool things with yarn. So highly recommend her channel. So if you're like, you know, starting from the ground up, want to learn a short forward or learn some basics, I recommend those 3 channels. Now, if you're like me, and the idea of woolen spun yarns fascinates you and long draw seems like magic, I have some resources for you. So, I mean, in addition to Rachel and Evie, obviously, but Lisa at the Soulful Spinner is where I learned long draw. And then I tightened it up from watching other people, but long draw did not make sense to me until I watched Lisa. Also, like, I just recommend Lisa at the Soulful Spinner. I think she's super rad. She's so soothing. Like, I watch those podcast episodes. There's zero shame in my game. I've watched some of those episodes 5 times, especially at night when I can't sleep. I just put the Soulful Spinner on YouTube on the TV, and I watch her play with fleece. And like, I know how this is gonna go. Like, there's nothing surprising about it, but I just find her really soothing. But also I find her content really informative, really informational. And my long draw did not make sense until I watched her. So I highly recommend Lisa at the Soulful Spinner. Obviously I will link everybody in this description box. Oh, hold on. Okay, we're back. So I find woolen spun yarn really hard to learn because, I don't know, so much of it feels like it's by feel. Like, it is just as much a technical type of spin as like a short forward or like, you know, a solid worsted draft. But when I spin woolen, I don't know, like, not to get like woo woo about it, but I spin woolen with like my heart. Like, I know what feels good in my hands. I know what the fiber wants to do, and that kind of stuff's hard to learn. There's the, you know, the technical side of long draw and making sure you have enough twists and yada yada. That stuff I learned from Lisa. So highly recommend Lisa at the Soulful Spinner. And the other person that I really learned long draw from is Sarah at Crafting with Compassion. Sarah also has a lot of tutorials. Lisa and Sarah both do podcasts, but then do occasional tutorials. So if you just want like straight up wool content, like if there's like a lack of wool content in your life, highly recommend both of those channels. But Sarah's the other person I learned from. She's another person who I think explains things really clearly. She is a spinning teacher. So I feel like people who like teach spinning in person make good spinning teachers online, and then people like me who are just like barely trying to figure out how to use words do not make good spinning teachers, which is why I was like, I'm going to tell you who to learn from, because as much as I'll show you my process, I'm not sure if I will make sense trying to explain things. So yes, Lisa at the Soulful Spinner and Sarah at Crafting with Compassion are amazing resources for learning how to spin woolen spun yarns. And then obviously again, Rachel and Evie have lots of foundational videos. But I find personally, just with the way I learned better from those two and then tightened it up. Oh, I forgot to switch pegs. My Lord, got away from myself and now my bobbin looks crazy. Listen, I know not everyone cares about pretty bobbins, but if my bobbin's not pretty, I get very upset. So I like a nicely, I don't like hills. Why aren't you loading, you psycho thing? I don't like hills and valleys on my bobbin. It's an aesthetic choice. Like I want to look at, I want my bobbins to look like a work of art, especially when you're spinning like a hand painted braid. I want to see all those fun colors. So I make a point. Why aren't you loading again? What is happening? Okay. See, my wheel and I are having a difference of opinion. We are going to reconcile really quickly. You're going to stop embarrassing me. Are you going to get to work? Okay, we're friends again. Sometimes Meadow and I, eventually we'll do a meet my flock, so we'll talk about my wheels, but sometimes Meadow and I have a difference of opinion and she just needs like a stern talking to, and then she gets it together again. We're fine now. So those were like the actual YouTube, like resources, part of YouTube University, but there are, there's paid content online that I definitely think is worth pursuing. And y'all, this is a Rachel Smith Stan account. You heard it here first. We're going to go right back to Rachel because I find Rachel's Patreon to be invaluable. So not only does Rachel have the podcast, she has a Patreon community where she does like monthly teaching content, and the teaching content is like a deep dive in the way that you can't really do in a bi-weekly podcast. And it is so well researched and so put together. And there's like teaching content on just individual fibers. You want to learn how to spin alpaca? She's a video for you. You want to learn how to spin Angora? She's a video for you. You want to talk about a chain plus? She's a video for you. Like there are just individual videos for pretty much anything you could ever think about when it comes to spinning. So if you just want to go and learn and practice one particular skill, I guarantee you there is a video for you. And not only is there videos, there are write-ups, there's PDFs, there's pictures, I could not, like my technical spinning journey did not take off until I started watching Rachel and until I joined the Patreon. That's when I learned what like twist angle was and why twist angle was important, and how I learned to calculate grist, and how I learned to calculate like twist per inch, and all these things, like these words that like float around the spinning universe, but you have no idea what they mean and how they affect your yarn. And if you're not, not everyone's interested in creating that sort of thing, but I want to create one. I'm spinning like 2 pounds. So I want to create yarn that is like repeatable and that is consistent. And technical spinning is important if you want to create a 2-pound repeatable consistent yarn. But I also like the challenge of it. Like I like the challenge of like dialing in, and then it's really fun to go, hey, I'm going to spin 2 different samples. I'm going to spin one with this twist angle, one with this twist angle. I wonder how that affects my fabric. And then you start like dialing into what you like what you like, and what your yarns are going to be is going to be completely different from what the person next to you, even if they have the exact same fiber. No 2 hand spinners spin the same way, and also all of our preferences are different. So like being able to dial into the things that change our finished yarn and our finished fabric is so important, and you get that from learning to be a technical spinner. And so I highly, like, I don't have words for how much I've learned from Rachel. Also, Rachel herself is just a great resource. She's really fun to talk to. She's really, really generous and giving. Again, this is a Rachel Smith Stan account. You heard it here first. I'm the biggest fan. And if you join her Patreon, you also get access to her Slack community. So then it's just a bunch of like other people who are on a similar journey to you, who can answer your questions. You can crowdsource. When I was doing a bunch of projects, I constantly went to the Slack channel. I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this? How should I tweak this? How should I tweak this? Because there are a bunch of people who have different experiences, who have different preferences, and so it's like the sounding board of the heavens. Like when the heavens open up and the angels start singing to you, that's what that Slack channel is, full of spinners who are just making yarn and who want to talk about making yarn all the time. It's rad. Highly recommend her Patreon. I will put a link to like a blog post that went up the other day that'll give you like a peek at what you get when you join. And listen, I'm not sponsored. Although, Rachel, if you watch this, I'm happy to do ad copy for you. I'm not sponsored by Rachel. I'm just telling you where I learned and where I found the most value for my money and my time, right? Like, if you're going to invest in becoming a better, or even if you're a new spinner and you just want to pick up this hobby, you want to make sure that your time is being allocated wisely, because you only have so much of it, and I only have so much time to practice my craft. So I want to make sure that where I'm learning and what energy I'm putting in is like worth it, you know? So I highly recommend Rachel. And the other paid resource that I highly recommend is the School of Sweet Georgia. Felicia just is phenomenal at getting brilliant instructors coming up with brilliant class ideas. And it's not just spinning. You can learn how to weave, how to dye, how to knit, how to crochet. It is just a fiber arts academy. It's an online school, but the spinning classes, there's a class taught, I want to say it's taught by Kim McKenna, but I'm not sure, called Spinning Up a Level. And it is exactly what it sounds like on the tin. It is how to take your default yarn and start doing cool things with it. Like, once you have a default yarn, so obviously you need a little bit of like spinning experience. You need to know what your default yarn is. Once you have a default yarn, it's all about how to take that default yarn and spin it up a level. And it's full of challenges. It's full of exercises. There are so many things in that class that I did not know I knew how to do until someone was like, do this thing and do this thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, my hands actually can make cool things besides just like, you know, my standard 2-ply sport weight yarn. And once you start experimenting, wild things start happening. So I highly recommend, if you have the funds, you know, do it for a month. And if you don't like it, then, you know, you cancel. It's a month-to-month commitment. But do it for a month and see if you get any value out of it. And they also have like beginning spinning classes. But by the time I discovered the school, I already knew what my default yarn was, and I was interested in learning how to like take it up a notch. There's also like classes on the School of Sweet Georgia for spinning to knit socks or spinning to knit a sweater, because obviously all those processes are going to be a little bit different than just, you know, spinning a 4-ply braid of your default yarn and moving on. And so if you're interested in taking your spinning a little bit further, that is a good place to go pop into for community. And also Felicia has a YouTube channel. I'll link her YouTube channel. She does a video on Fridays called Taking Back Fridays, which is kind of like a podcast where she talks about what's going on at the school and what's going on in her own personal making. But she's also someone that's really engaging, that I really enjoy learning from. But the cool thing about the school is she's not the only person you're learning from. She has other people come in and do classes. So like, it's pretty, like, it's a no-brainer that you're gonna find someone to learn from and find some value there. So that's it, you guys. That is how I learned how to spin online. I mean, obviously, there's nothing like getting someone to look at you and watch what you're doing and maybe correct your spinning. I got really lucky the first time I went to Rhinebeck. I saw someone sitting at a spinning wheel, and she was like clearly a master spinner, and I asked her if I could sit there and like treadle a little bit and ask her for help, and she fixed how I was holding my fiber supply hand. And that was like amazing, because I didn't realize that I was like holding on for bare life. Like, I thought I had a really loose grip until she pointed out that I was like choking it, and that's part of why I was having trouble drafting. And so there's nothing that's going to replace someone looking at your spinning and going, hey, try this, or hey, try that. But if you're just learning and you don't have that opportunity to get like one-on-one spinning instruction, you can learn how to spin online. It is way more accessible and way more achievable than we think it is, and there are lots of great resources and teachers available who are willing to take you. Why does this happen every time I switch a peg? Who are willing to take you on that spinning journey. And I hope that you found some value in here, that you tried somebody new, that maybe you knew about some of those people, but I mentioned someone that you didn't know, so maybe you try someone new. Or maybe you're just starting out and you're hoping for some sort of guidance. Or maybe you're like, Tashi, what are all these words you're using? And now you know who to go look for. Every time I switch a peg, my wheel starts embarrassing me. Okay, we're friends again. So yes, that's it for Vlogmas day 2. I think I'm just gonna sit here and finish up my spin because I literally have this much fiber left because I had a little bit of camera trouble. And then I'm gonna go about my day. I hope you enjoyed spending your morning, your afternoon, your evening. I have no idea what time it is that you're going to be watching this. It's still morning where I am, but I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. Maybe you found some value in this. Maybe you just wanted someone to sit and spin with for a little bit. But I will see you for day 3, and we'll see what other goodies Jen has cooked up for us in the rest of this advent. Have a magical December, and happy Vlogmas.